have just commissioned the solo by Lea Anderson. It's called Miniatures. It's for dancer Annie Hanauer. It's the first time Lea's made a solo, and we were quite excited in Candoco that we were the first people to ask her to make a solo for us. She said that when she then thought of how to make a solo, she thought, let me go back to portraits. And she didn't just do sort of any portrait, but actually the sort of miniature portraits of the Elizabethan era.
My first experience of Annie was being told that I was being invited to make a solo for Annie. I work in really potentially annoying ways. And so it can be a nightmare for a dancer who isn't well disposed to looking at hundreds of pictures hour after hour, copying them. To my delight, not only did she love to look at pictures, but she had a fantastic capacity for copying them. So perfect, couldn't have been a better match.
Well, Lea's work is always very striking visually, very intense, and I think that's been really exciting for us in Candoco to work with someone as experienced as her, someone who brings in a real clarity of her artistic vision, and at the same time, every time she meets a new dancer, a new person, wants to draw on them.
Making a solo has been great because it's a really different way of working with a choreographer. I started with Lea with a few books about miniatures, trying to pick up their specific facial expressions and gestures. So I'm thinking of the images the whole time. And there's specific people that I really have to think of every time because then it feels right.
Due to an extraordinary set of circumstances, I found myself accidentally in the miniature room of the V&A Museum, much to my delight. And so I spent some time there and wondered at the theatricality of these little lights that would come on and invite you to look closely. When you see a miniature, it's usually of the face or just the shoulders and upper body. And what has happened to the rest of the body, we don't know. We can imagine, but we don't really know. So I wanted to frame and cut off and make the point that whatever is happening below, we don't actually know what it is, and to suggest a scenario that is feeding this giant miniature that we see on the screen.
We looked really closely at the detail of the angle and the gaze of each portrait sitter. And it's quite nice staring into a camera. I feel like I have a lot of power, like people are commenting on the fact that I'm always looking at them through the screen. You can really play with the subtleties of how your eyes move and which angle you're tilting your chin.
I think that Lea's theatricality is actually different maybe from some of the theatricality we've touched on in Candoco before, partly because she dares to not use a lot of known dance movement. Actually what she's looking at is the detail.
I also have collaborators that from the beginning we share the view of the score, and they all contribute, and I will alter everything to whatever they suggest. So the music and the costume and the lights are almost imposed on it.
The music really sets the atmosphere. It really gives us both an indication of the kind of Elizabethan corpse, but there is a really slightly sinister, skewed, dissonant to it.
The costume was designed by Simon Vincenzi, and it's totally amazing. He was inspired by what he saw with us working in the studio, as well as the idea of kind of the portrait. So there's references to a lot of different things within it.
we've been really pushing lately to try to bring our work out to different audiences. And so it's been really exciting working with Lea. Firstly, speaking to her about creating something for the theatre, something that would go in our usual indoor spaces. This piece could really sit in a different setting. So looking more into the galleries, into museums, into the stately homes.
It's a very well considered piece of work. It's designed very well. It's very visually stunning. It has beautiful music, beautiful costume, beautiful lighting design. The movement's really interesting and different.
After you've seen this piece, the best thing to do, if you feel so moved, is to go to the miniature room at the V&A Museum, or indeed any other place that has miniatures, and imagine for yourself how we worked from them.